Hello students, I am Dr. Jyotsna Sharma and this is my first topic which is related to Neet, Aims or Jipmer preparation. It is a living word. Now onwards, I will give you different videos related to the topics or syllabus of Neet. Like my first video from class 11th, then second I'll cover from class 12th. So in this way, I'll release my videos in my channel so that you can take benefit and you can learn and know each and every specific point which is related to the biology for class 11th and 12th. Now, if you have any kind of query, any question, as I know that we all are there in pandemic and you must be attending online classes in your school or in your coaching centers. So there must be some queries regarding different topics. So my mail ID is given. You can mail me in this mail ID and within a day or two, I will send the replies to you. If you want any kind of improvement in my teaching also, then you can send that also. Now, first thing, living word, it's a very simple topic and you must have read about most of the terms in your lower classes. Now, what is living or what makes living different from non-living? As we all know that जब भी हमने living के features check करने हैं, तो mostly what we observe, accordingly we want to differentiate between living and non-living. Like living organisms, they can respire, they can grow, they can reproduce, they are having self-consciousness, they can self-replicate, self-regulate, like osmoregulation is there, means they can control their body temperature, and they show different kind of movements also. So these are the observable features which make living organism different from the non-living. Now next, there are certain topics like growth, metabolism, reproduction, consciousness, on the basis of which we want to know that which feature is actually a characteristic feature of living organism. So one by one we'll cover all these. Now today in my this lecture I am going to cover two features. One is growth, another one is reproduction. Now first feature which makes living organisms different from non-living is growth. Now if we have to check growth of either plant or animals or any living organism, then actually we consider two characters. So that's why I have written here twin characters. Now first character is increase in mass, like individual weight is increasing with age. If at the time of birth child's weight is that is around 6 kg, 5 kg, 4 kg, and it is increasing at the child is growing. So that is increase in mass. Second character is increase in number. For example, bacteria divide after every 20 minutes. So with the division of cell division, large number of copies can be produced. So in this way, you can see that there are two features within the growth, increase in mass and increase in number. So growth can be predicted by twin characters. Now next is that how growth occurs in the multicellular organisms. Multicellular organisms, whether they are plants or animals, they grow with cell division. Now what type of cell division? Mostly that is mitotic cell division, because meiosis takes place at the time of gamete formation. Now life of multicellular organism, if we'll check that it again starts from a unicellular single cell stage, that is diploid zygote, which is a single cell stage. Now in this diploid zygote, very large number of like several or lots of divisions. Which kind of divisions? Again I am repeating, mitotic divisions, they will happen, and billions and trillions of cells are formed to make whole body. In plants, growth continues. So what happens throughout the life, if we check length, size of branches or even of any tree or of any plant, so increase in length and girth, this occurs throughout the life. But in animals, growth stops at particular age. But cell division still occurs, not for the growth, but for certain repair mechanisms. What happens because of injuries? in surfaces, some of the cells, some wear and tear happens in some of the cells. So in that case, new cells are formed by cell division in the form of repair. So again, I am telling you, I am repeating it. Now, multicellular organisms, they are growing by mitotic cell division, whether it is plant or it's animal. In plants, continuous division is there, but in animals, continuous division is not there, which is known as contact inhibition. But in case of animals, cell division occurs, but during the injuries for repairs only. Next, we will check whether this growth feature, it is an inclusive or an exclusive event. Like in unicellular organism like bacteria, cell division, reproduction and growth, if we check all three processes, they are mutually inclusive events, all are occurring simultaneously. I just told you कि जैसे बैक्टीरिया एक सेल है, बैक्टीरिया के अंदर अगर सेल डिवीजन होगी तो वो दो डॉटर बैक्टीरिया बनाता है, उसको हम सेल डिवीजन कहते हैं. सिमिलरली उसी चीज को आप उसका रिप्रोडक्शन भी कहते हैं, क्योंकि वो बैक्टीरिया 20 मिनट के अंतराल में डिफरेंस में it will divide and it forms two daughter bacteria. So that is a sort of reproduction. Again, we can tell that from one bacteria, two daughter bacteria are forming. So that is growth. So that means in unicellular organism, different events, these like cell division, reproduction and growth, they are mutually inclusive events. On the other hand, if we check in multicellular organisms, growth is exclusive. As if injury occurs, only cell division will occur. There is no sign of growth or reproduction in that case. So that means in multicellular organisms, growth is an exclusive event. Now next, if we check about the non-living cells, because now we want to explain whether growth, it is a characteristic feature for a living organisms or not. So here if we check non-living cells, they also grow. How? That in mountain, if there is accumulation of soil and stones, as a result, mass of mountains is increased, which is a characteristic feature of growth. In a twin feature, I told you, increase in mass. Another feature was increase in number. But here, because of accumulation of matter, what happens? Mass is increasing in non-living mountain also. So, accumulation of matter on any surface is known as accretion or external growth. So if we have to check the internal growth, in that case we can say that internal growth is a characteristic feature. But as non-living cells also grow either in the form of increase in mass, so growth is not a characteristic feature of living organisms. There is one interesting term that is used for the internal growth. So internal growth shows response, which is known as intussuspension. So such terms like accretion or intussuspension, you have to learn also. Next term that I am going to explain you, that is a different feature for the living organisms, that is reproduction. So in growth, we have checked that living organisms can grow. Even non-living also, to some extent, they are growing because of accumulation of matter. So growth, it is not a characteristic feature. So next is reproduction. Here re means again, production means to produce. And reproduction is a biological process where a particular organism of a species is used to produce organisms similar to that species. Now if we check progeny, after reproduction, it is more or less same. Why I am using the term more or less? If we'll check in asexual reproduction, where only single parent is involved and there is no fusion of gametes, here progeny is exact copy of parent, morphologically as well as genetically. So it is more like, here progeny is more like parents. When progeny is termed as morphologically and genetically same, for that we use a term clone. So they are the exact or similar copy of the parent. But in case of sexual reproduction, there is fusion of haploid sperm and haploid egg to form diploid zygote. And this diploid zygote is having characteristics of both the characters of both the parents. So sexually reproduced organisms are different from parents because of crossing over in meiosis. अगर मुझे कहना है कि मैं अपनी मदर के जैसी हूँ, तो मैं थोड़ा अपनी मदर के जैसी ज्यादा होंगी, लेकिन मैं अगर अपनी नानी के जैसी कहूँ तो ग्रैनी के जैसी, तो उसमें डिफरेंसेस हैं, because during gamete formation meiosis occurs, and at the time of meiosis crossing over occurs, and that actually produces variations and differences in us. Now there are certain examples where we can check that what kind of gametes are forming or what kind of reproduction is occurring. Like in fungi, it's mentioned in NCERT class 11th in this chapter also. Now fungi, asexual spores are forming. In yeast and hydra, budding is there. In planaria, it is reproducing by regeneration. Means one planaria, it breaks into two parts and every part regenerates to form complete new planaria. Then fragmentation occurs in fungi, filamentous algae, and protonema of one more, it is left here. Yes, protonema of mosses, and in amoeba, fission occurs. So these are few examples of reproduction and their ways. Now again we have to check whether reproduction it's a characteristic feature or not. Here I just want to add on one more thing, that when we are saying that amoeba is full-fledged parent amoeba, it's immortal. How it is immortal? In parent amoeba, when fission occurs, it forms exactly similar daughter amoebae, and there is no practical identity in two different amoebae with the parent amoebae, means they are exactly similar with the parent identity. So that is why it is immortal. Now reproduction, again, it's not a characteristic feature, because all living organisms don't reproduce. There are certain living organisms which don't reproduce. For example, worker bees, mules, and sterile couples. I think in this lecture I have clearly mentioned two features of living organisms. One is growth, which is measured as a twin character. Another one is reproduction, that both of these, they are not the characteristic feature of living organisms, because to some extent there are certain limitations which is making them that they are not totally, completely or absolutely present in living organisms. So thank you so much students for listening me, and if you like my presentation, then please do subscribe me and like me, and I'll try to give you best in my next presentations. Thank you so much.